Once upon a time, there was a peaceful forest where every animal trusted one another. The lion protected the forest with courage, the elephant helped everyone during difficult times, the monkeys gathered fruit, the birds carried important messages, and the deer warned the others whenever danger came near. Whenever a problem arose, the animals sat together, discussed it calmly, and found a solution. Because of this, the forest had remained peaceful for many years, and every animal was proud to call it home. Among them lived a clever fox named Felix. He was intelligent and quick-witted, but he had one weakness. He wanted everyone to admire him more than anyone else. Whenever the lion solved a problem, the animals praised the lion's wisdom. Whenever the elephant helped someone, they thanked the elephant. Felix watched these moments with growing jealousy. Why does no one respect me? He often thought. I am smarter than all of them. One day, this forest will listen only to me. One evening, while sitting beside the river, Felix finally came up with a plan. I cannot become the leader by fighting, he whispered to himself. The lion is stronger than me, and the elephant is respected by everyone. But if they stop trusting one another, the entire forest will fall apart. Then they will need someone clever to guide them. Smiling to himself, Felix decided that instead of using strength, he would use lies. The next morning, Felix found the lion resting beneath a large tree. After greeting him politely, he said in a worried voice, Your Majesty, I don't know whether I should tell you this, but yesterday I heard the elephant telling a few animals that you are becoming old and weak. He believes the forest needs a younger leader. The lion looked surprised. He had trusted the elephant for many years, yet the words stayed in his mind. Before the lion could ask another question, Felix quietly walked away. Later that day, Felix met the elephant near the river. He shook his head sadly and said, My friend, I thought you should know something. The lion has begun to worry about you. He thinks you are becoming too powerful and may one day take his place. The elephant was shocked. The lion has never spoken to me like that, he replied. Felix sighed. Perhaps he does not want you to know. Then, just as before, Felix left without giving the elephant time to think. Over the next few days, Felix repeated the same trick with many other animals. He told the deer that the wolves wanted to chase them away from the green meadow. He told the wolves that the deer had complained about them to the lion. He whispered to the monkeys that the birds laughed at them for making too much noise, and he told the birds that the monkeys thought they were lazy. None of these lies were very big, but each one planted a small seed of doubt. Slowly, the peaceful forest began to change. The lion stopped visiting the elephant in the evenings. The wolves and the deer no longer greeted one another. The monkeys stopped sharing fruit with the birds. Every animal became suspicious, and nobody understood why. Even the young rabbits noticed that the forest felt quieter than before. Friends who had laughed together every day now avoided one another. Felix watched all this from a distance with a satisfied smile. His plan was working exactly as he had imagined. A week later, the lion called a meeting beneath the great banyan tree. Something is wrong, he said. For many years we have lived like one family, but now everyone seems unhappy. If someone has a problem, speak openly so that we can solve it together. The animals looked at one another, but nobody spoke. The elephant remained silent. The wolves looked at the ground. The deer stood far away from them. Felix pretended to be just as confused as everyone else. Perhaps everyone has simply changed, he said innocently. Since no one had any proof, the meeting ended without solving anything. Watching quietly from behind a large rock was an old tortoise named Theo. Theo was one of the oldest animals in the forest. He rarely spoke, but he carefully observed everything around him. As the animals walked away, he thought to himself, friendships that last for years do not suddenly break without a reason. He closed his eyes and tried to remember when the problems had first begun. Then he realized something strange. Every misunderstanding had started only after one animal had spoken privately with Felix. Theo did not accuse the fox immediately. He knew that wisdom required patience. If I accuse him without proof, he thought, the forest may become even more divided. Instead, he decided to watch Felix carefully for a few more days. He believed that the truth always leaves footprints, even when a liar tries to hide them. The following morning, Theo secretly followed Felix through the forest. He watched as Felix whispered something to the deer. A little later, he whispered something completely different to the wolves. Both groups walked away looking worried. Theo still could not hear every word, but he was now certain that Felix was carrying different stories from one animal to another. The old tortoise smiled quietly. I do not need to chase the liar, he thought. Soon, the liar will trap himself. Theo spent the next 2 days watching Felix without being seen. He noticed the fox repeating the same trick again and again. Felix never told huge lies. Instead, he changed a few words, added a little fear, and let the animals imagine the rest. Theo realized that Felix's greatest weapon was not his intelligence but the fact that everyone believed him without asking a single question. The old tortoise knew that simply accusing Felix would not solve the problem. He needed every animal to discover the truth for themselves. The following morning, Theo visited the lion and requested one final meeting beneath the great banyan tree. Curious about his request, the lion invited every animal in the forest. When everyone had gathered, Theo stepped into the center of the circle and smiled. Today, he said, I want to play a small game. The answer will help us discover why our forest has lost its peace. The animals looked at one another with surprise, but they agreed. Theo then walked over to Felix and said politely, Felix, everyone knows you hear many things because you speak to almost every animal. I need your help. Early this morning I heard a very strange rumor. Someone told me that the lion is planning to leave the forest forever. Since you know so much, could you please tell us if this rumor is true? Felix was caught by surprise. He had never heard such a rumor, but he did not want to admit that he did not know. After thinking for a moment, he confidently replied, yes. I also heard something similar. I believe it is true. The lion immediately stood up. That is impossible, he said. I have never said such a thing. A quiet murmur spread through the crowd. Theo nodded calmly and continued. Interesting. Then let me ask another question. I also heard that the elephant plans to move to another forest before winter. Felix, have you heard that too? Felix smiled nervously. Yes. I believe that is also true. The elephant looked shocked. I have never even thought about leaving this forest. Now the animals began whispering among themselves. Theo asked one final question. This morning I also heard that the monkeys no longer want to share fruit with anyone because they think the other animals are lazy. Felix, what do you know about that? Without thinking, Felix answered, yes, I heard exactly the same thing. The monkeys jumped to their feet at once. That is completely false, they shouted. We never said anything like that. The forest became silent. Felix suddenly realized what had happened. Theo had invented all 3 rumors. There had never been any such conversations. By pretending that he already knew them, Felix had exposed himself. He had proved that he was willing to repeat anything just to appear informed. Theo looked at the fox kindly, not angrily. My friend, he said softly, a truthful person is never afraid to say, I don't know. But a liar believes he must always have an answer. Felix lowered his head. He knew he had been trapped. The old tortoise then turned to the other animals. Now think carefully, he said. Every one of you stopped trusting a friend because of something Felix whispered. But did any of you ask that friend whether the rumor was true? Slowly, every animal realized their mistake. The lion walked toward the elephant. "My old friend," he said, "I should have spoken to you instead of believing a rumor." The elephant smiled warmly. "And I should have asked you instead of remaining silent." The wolves apologized to the deer. The birds apologized to the monkeys. One by one, the misunderstandings disappeared, not because Theo was clever, but because the animals finally chose to speak honestly with one another. At last, the lion turned to Felix. "Why did you do all this?" he asked. Felix sighed deeply. "I wanted everyone to notice me," he admitted. "I thought that if the strongest animals became enemies, they would need me. I wanted respect, but I chose the wrong path." Theo gently replied, "Respect earned through lies never lasts. Real respect comes from helping others, not dividing them." The lion thought for a moment before giving his decision. "Felix, you will not leave the forest. Instead, for the next month, you will help every animal repair the friendships that your lies damaged. You will tell the truth to everyone and ask for forgiveness. Let your actions show that you have changed." Felix accepted the punishment without arguing. During the following weeks, he visited every animal in the forest. He admitted every lie he had told and sincerely apologized. Some animals forgave him quickly, while others needed more time. Felix learned that trust is much harder to rebuild than to destroy. As the months passed, the forest slowly returned to the peaceful place it had once been. The lion and the elephant became close friends again. The wolves and the deer once again shared the meadow without fear. The birds sang with the monkeys as they gathered fruit, and laughter returned to the forest. One evening, Theo looked at the young animals playing happily beneath the great banyan tree and said, "Always remember this lesson. A rumor is like a tiny spark. If people believe it without checking the truth, it can grow into a fire that burns even the strongest friendships. But one honest conversation can put out that fire before it spreads." From that day onward, whenever someone brought gossip or spoke badly about another animal, the forest followed a new rule. No one would believe a rumor until they had spoken directly to the person involved. Because of that simple habit, the forest remained united for many years, and the animals never again allowed lies to become stronger than truth. Moral: never believe rumors without verifying them. Honest communication builds trust, while gossip and lies destroy even the strongest friendships. True wisdom is not believing everything you hear, it is seeking the truth before you judge.